By the title of this video, you may be wondering what this video is actually talking about. Well, when I say next gen tax, I'm referring to the increased price of AAA games that has slowly crept in over the past 6 to 12 months. It now seems that if you want to buy a game on day one for a next gen console, whether it be Xbox or PlayStation, you're now having to fork out £70 or $70, a price which for many people is a lot of money. When you look back 10-11 years ago when I started to properly play video games, a new game on day one would cost you around £40, or in the case of something like Call of Duty, it would cost £45 because Activision would always try to push for a bit more, especially when it came to Call of Duty. And yes, I know some of that you will be saying, moaning about COD and Activision is very easy, and it's done by many YouTubers and other content creators. But they were the first to increase their game prices again. Last year, when they released Call of Duty Cold War, they couldn't just release one standard edition for their game. Oh no, they had to release a current gen edition for Xbox One and PlayStation 4 for £60 and a cross-gen bundle for £65 that would allow you to then play on the current and next-gen consoles without having to pay again, whereas other games did it for just £60 at no additional cost to the consumer. And if you actually compare the two versions on, let's say, the Xbox store, the only difference you can actually see is where the technical capabilities are listed. It says optimized for Series X and S. I could not find where it actually goes into detail about what improvements the next gen version actually has. Now I guess some of you will be thinking, why am I bringing this up now? Well, we just had E3, and while we got to see a lot of great trailers and gameplay from upcoming games, when I went to see just what and when these games will be releasing, I noticed that others, namely EA, have increased their prices for all of their games that they will be releasing this year, which is currently Battlefield 2042 and Madden 2022. Both of these games have two standard editions, one for current gen and one for next gen. Yes, I know, this sounds familiar, but this time, while current gen will still cost you £60, next gen will cost you £70. So not only have they increased the price for next gen, like we saw with Activision do with COD, they also increased the price by a further £5, because they probably didn't think that £65 was enough. What's more, while Battlefield 2042 does look good, they have increased the price for the game despite the game not having a campaign mode, and it will only have 7 maps at launch, and yet fans have to pay more? And as for Madden, this year's game will probably be exactly the same as last year's game, maybe with a few tweaks here and there, and I expect when FIFA 2022 is announced, it will be a similar case. And yet EA want you to pay £70 for this? Are they insane? So far, the only game they haven't done this with, which will release this year, is F1 2021, and probably because they've just bought Codemasters and they don't want to scare off the fans of the game just yet, but I imagine they will increase the price next year. Thankfully, so far other publishers such as Ubisoft and Square Enix haven't implemented the price increases or specific next-gen versions of their games, and they will support features such as Xbox Smart Delivery, where you pay one price and you get both current and next-gen versions of that game. But as we've now seen, that it only takes one publisher to increase their prices and others will follow. So it probably is more of a case of when and not if they increase their prices. Now some of you may be thinking it's fine that they are increasing the price of their games because the cost of game development has increased, and yes, I would agree with you that certainly over the last 10 years, game development cost has increased as game technology has improved. But when you look at games such as Call of Duty, Fallout 76, or, I hate to say it, but Far Cry, just to name a few, you can clearly see that the engine these games are built on have not been improved or updated in a long while, with some arguably needing new engines altogether to deliver the so-called next-gen experience that publishers are charging you more for. That's not to mention that nowadays, you're not just expected to buy the games, They also want you to buy the battle passes, loot boxes and booster packs and any other in-game items on top of that £60 to £70 price tag. When you look at free-to-play games such as Fortnite, Apex Legends and Warzone, games that make billions of dollars when they are free, you could then not just keep the price at 60 or hell, even come a bit lower like 50 or 40. With a multiplayer game like Battlefield 2042, they could still make an upfront cost and still make their billions on the extra content such as a battle pass, or in the case of FIFA, card packs for Ultimate Team. It just shows how the corporate world is being so greedy and that they will try to squeeze every bit of money out of their fans that support their games. All of this makes me appreciate things like Game Pass more, as Xbox showed us at E3 that they have a lot of games such as Back 4 Blood, Halo Infinite and Stalker 2, just to name a few which could cost you £50 to £60, will be available in Game Pass on day one at no additional cost after your subscription, which I think we can all agree that this is a great deal. Whether you purchase Game Pass for a year or a month, you could play all of these games. And yes, it is important to mention that Ubisoft has this on PC with Ubisoft Plus, where you can play all of their new releases day one as well, and I hope they can bring this to the consoles as well, and I hope Sony does this on PlayStation as well, because if prices keep increasing for many gamers, this will be likely the only way they can afford to play their favourite games. I think it's important to mention that with these price increases, the future of gaming could look like subscription services, which I see has pros and cons, and maybe that's something to discuss in another video. But with that, I want to know what you think. Do you think the game prices are too high now? Or are you happy to pay the increased price, and do you like subscription services such as Game Pass? Or do you prefer to buy your games? Let me know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video, let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. And I'll see you in the next one.